Hello and welcome to Hobby Vlog number 224. Now let's get straight into the Reaper miniatures thing. Last week I painted up Torlan Gatorman and the picture for that will be on screen now. Had a lot of fun painting him up and his video on An Average Painter will come out tomorrow over there on that channel. Now if you don't know what I'm talking about, every week I select 10 miniatures from my big pile of unpainted Reaper miniatures and you are able to vote on those. So on the screen now is the miniatures for this week, and to get involved in this all you need to do is pick one of those that you want me to paint, put it in a comment below, and this will enter you into a challenge, into a competition, a prize draw every month. And if your name is drawn out at the end of each month, you get to pick one of the miniatures that won during the previous month and I will send it to you brand new free from the Reaper store. So get involved, pick a miniature that you're interested in, and yeah, I'll get it painted up for next week and you could be in with a chance to win that miniature. Last week we had a three-way tie. Can't remember the other two miniatures that tied with it, but the one that won my roll-off was the Raging Barbarian. So I'll get that painted up and we'll see what that looks like in next week's video. So that's really cool. I'm really enjoying this. I mean, I'm having so much fun painting these miniatures and I'm having so much fun seeing what people are picking, because I'm struggling to know when I look at my list of miniatures which one I think will win. But I do have an idea this week I think. So yeah, get yourself voted, get that comment in below with the name of the miniature you want me to paint, and I'll get that done. Now to the regular introduction. It's been a very busy week and I think that my life is taking a turn for much busier, so I think that hobby is going to unfortunately give slightly, which is a shame. It's certainly not motivation, but I'm very close to having work again, proper work again, and potentially more than just proper work again, maybe proper work and another private project and other bits and pieces going on. So yeah, I'm coming close to being very busy and having less time. But I'll keep doing these videos and I'll keep hobbying. As you know, my habit is to do a small amount regularly. So even if I get 2 or 3 minutes, 2 or 3 times a day, every day, then that turns out to be quite a lot of hobby time and quite a long vlog. So don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. Thank you ever so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to vote for your Reaper miniature and I'll see you again at the end. 2 weeks in a row. Who can believe that, eh? So we're back. And I think today we're going to finish up this adventure. So do you remember what happened last week?
No, I do not.
Do you remember what happened last week? It's a good thing I make notes every week, isn't it? So we had a tough first day travel. Everything was trying to trip us up. We were struggling through the woods.
Oh, and I tried to shoot it, the squirrel twice, but we gave them some berries. Yeah,
we stopped you from shooting them again, and after we fed them and treated them nicely, then the forest was much friendlier to us, wasn't it?
Yes, and they gave us some nuts.
Lesson learned there. And what did we meet while we were walking? Do you remember what other creature we met?
A deer.
Yes, well remembered, love. So you saw a deer and we followed it, and it took us, so we were trying to follow the stream, and it took us off down here, and then like that, and it led us to a nice campsite, and then it left us just as we reached the edge of Woody End, and that's when we ended the session, wasn't it?
Yes, and now we're going to go all the way to...
Well, we're going to find out what we're going to do, because that's today's session. But yes, we are heading in that direction, but we're just around here right now. So it's probably not going to be a very long session, which is good because I'm feeling sick today. I mean, it feels like we've not been well ever actually, like since this one came along, to be honest. I know. So yeah, so we'll have a game and we'll report back at the end of it. You excited?
Yes.
Yeah, oh, you have to be.
Oh, yes.
Good girl. Right, let's get to it. Well, there we are. We finished that adventure. And what can you tell me what happened? Can one of you two recap a few bits that went on?
We saw an elf.
We did, and he was a very nice elf, wasn't he? And what did we do with the elf? What did you offer the elf?
Bacon.
You did, and he gave us some nice bread, and he was a little bit suspicious, but he found he likes a nice bacon butty, so we've introduced bacon butties to the elves. And what else did we do with the elves?
We told him all about our adventures, didn't we?
He was very impressed, wasn't he? And I must say, out of character, these two remembered a lot of what's happened over the last several months. Much more than I expected. You did well. Come on, sit up. You did well, didn't you?
I just need to scratch.
You got a scratch. Ah, you're accessing a scratch. Good point. So yeah, so you remembered lots of stuff. We've been all over the map, haven't we? It's been a very exciting campaign. And then he sang us to sleep, didn't he? Do you remember what he was singing about? Oh, he was thinking about the time before night when the two when the endless day before humans won the earth. It was a very lovely song. And the next morning he made breakfast for us. And then what did we do? Who did we meet on the way? Do you remember?
Fishermen.
We met some fishermen who gave us directions to our destination. And when we reached our destination, who did we see?
Farmer Maggot.
Farmer Maggot. And was he nice or was he a bit grumpy?
He was a bit grumpy, wasn't he?
He was very grumpy. But when he read our letter, he laughed. And what happened then?
Who was there?
Bilbo Baggins.
And what did we find out?
He was eating a big colourful apple.
He was. Who had sent the letter?
Who wrote the letter?
Bilbo.
So Bilbo had very cleverly written a letter to get us out of jail, and this entire thing was just a scheme of Bilbo's to break us free of jail. So there we are, wasn't it fun? So next week we will do our levelling up and stuff, and then the week after we will start the final adventure, which is called To Soothe a Savage Beast. So yeah, bless you, have a quick drink. So yeah, real good fun, not a massively long session, but fun I think. I enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it, love? Yeah, it was really cool meeting the elf, wasn't it? He was awesome, Gildar. So yeah, we'll be back next week to do our levelling up and then play again the week after. And after that I'm going to have to start writing my own. Bit nervous of that, but yeah, we'll see. Oh, swallow your drink. Don't hold it in your mouth and spray it. You did that on camera. What do you say to the camera?
Bye.
Well, here we are. Let's get our box open and have a look at the miniature. This is one that I've looked at a lot and wanted to paint a lot. So I was quite pleased when it won. A much more substantial packet, as you can see, and a lovely big miniature. It's going to be fun to paint, hopefully. So, as per usual, what I'm going to do now is stick that in some hot soapy water, give it a good scrub, and then prime it up, and I will bring them back when that's done, show you what it looks like, and then take them down to the painting bench and get them painted. So yeah, very, very cool miniature that, very cool, quite big. Lovely details. Like I said, I really love these models. They're really nice to paint. They've got lovely details. Really, not too detailed, but not too shallow details. Everything is just enough. There's going to be a little bit of clean up. There's a little bit of a line here, so there'll be a little bit of clean up on this one, but very little. Right, let's get that washed and prepared and primed, and I'll bring it back when that's done. Well, my sanding and my filing, I'm pretty happy with how that's working. I just realised I did forget to that I need to replace this front stick here, this front stake here, so I'm going to have to get that done. So when I get to that, I'll bring you along. But this, I'm happy to take down now and get to the painting. What I'll be doing is improving the painting on the tusks, and also just touching up where I've done the filling, so the little white lines you can see here, I'll be touching that up, and also probably looking to paint and improve these straps and the mat kind of thing which is going on underneath the howdah. So yeah, I'm going to get that down to the painting bench and fix up this last missing piece here. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do it. I'm probably going to use balsa wood and paint it, and then we'll pick the next mumuk and have a look and see how I can fix the next one up. So that will mean that I've done this one. Oh, and the other thing is, sorry, I have forgotten about one other thing. I have washed, it's still a bit wet, I've given a good scrub in some hot soapy water, a base from Matt at Generation Shift, So I also need to paint the base, which I'll do at the same time as I'm painting the model. So yeah, and then we'll get him based and look and see what it looks like. So that's going to move downstairs, and we'll pick the next Mumuk up very shortly and see what that needs to be done to get that fixed. But only once I've finished repairing the howdah. Alright, so we're going to have a go at fixing up this missing piece here. So what I've got here is just a bit of dowel, bit of a balsa wood dowel, and I've marked on there, just to that side, you can see here, I've marked on there a rough cutting point. Just going to use scissors because that's the easiest way, because it's so soft. And what I'm then going to do, because I think I've got that at the right angle, this is a little bit hard to film, apologies, but I'm going to do my best to film it. Hopefully it comes out. What I'm then going to do is set that in the place where it wants to be and come along and mark where I need to cut there. And then so if I do it like that, I want it to be flat. Dunk. Get that cut and see if that fits, and if it doesn't, then I'll keep trimming it down. I'll probably turn the camera off in a minute because this is really awkward trying to do this on camera. That's actually going to work okay, I think. There we are, good. So that's going to fit in okay. I'll get it wedged in more once I'm actually going to set it in place, because what I'm going to do now is grab myself a little bit of a sharp tool. This one here will do, and score in the texture that we want. So, and then what I'll do is paint it with PVA. I might actually need a wider tool than that, that's actually too sharp, but I'll start them off with this sharp tool and then get a wider one to open it out so the texture is a little bit more obvious. And then I'll seal it with PVA, paint it, and then glue it in place. And that will be this howdah repaired and ready for gluing on top of the Mumuk once the Mumuk is painted, and it is down on my bench waiting to be started to be painted. So there we are. So I will now grab myself a slightly wider tool to open those out. Let me see if that'll do. There we are, that'll do. This kind of like rounded one. Oh, kick the camera. So I've got this rounded tool, and I can now come along and kind of open those gaps out a little bit, just to make it so that when I paint it and dry brush it, it's a bit more obvious. And then what I'll do, as I say, is I'll put some PVA on that to seal it. It's already falling apart a little bit because of those scores. And once that's been sealed, then I can paint it and put it in place. It's not going to be very strong, but it doesn't need to be very strong. It just needs to be there so that there's not a gap, because the problem is that there's a gap. It's not gonna, this isn't going to fall off, put it that way. So I've got a little bit of PVA onto my plate. Coat this in PVA, and I'll put that now onto my little tray, which is out of shot, not on the mat, otherwise it will just stick to the mat. And I'll let that dry, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's painted and ready to stick in. Pretty cool, happy with that. So I was a bit undecided as to how I was going to do this, but what I've decided is I am going to stick this in place and then prime it, and then after I've primed it, paint it, but stick it in place first. So I'm just going to use super glue, which works well with the balsa wood. Get it in underneath. Try not to stick it to myself. Try and get it lined up right. There we are, that'll do. So what I'll do now, that will go off very quickly, but I'll leave that to completely set, because I don't want to put a brush anywhere near super glue. So I'll get that primed in grey, and then take it down and just put some wood colour on it and wash it. And that's certainly good enough. Good enough. It doesn't need to be any better than that, I don't think. That's going to be, you won't even notice it after a while, you'll forget that it's been done. So yeah, these are now all on to priming and painting stage, so I'll show you what it's done when it's all finished, but now I'm going to pick my next Mumuk to work on. Well, I've got these done. As you can see, I've done the steps and they just look brilliant as well. And I also did the roof here and the roof here, just so it looks like it's got a little bit of water damage. And I'm happy and done with that. So that project is wrapped up, and pretty pleased indeed. They're a good kit. It's a little bit tight in places in how things go together, so you need to do a little bit of sanding and what have you. But it looks great, and yeah, we'll probably use it in my next Water Cowboy game, or maybe even some other Western games. I really highly recommend TT Combat. It's great stuff. So yeah, let's go on the shelf and on to the next project. So I was a bit undecided as to how I was going to do this, but what I've decided is I am going to stick this in place and then prime it, and then after I've primed it, paint it, but stick it in place first. So just going to use super glue, which works well with the balsa wood. Get it in underneath, try not to stick it to myself, try and get it lined up right. There we are, that'll do. So what I'll do now, that'll go off very quickly, but I'll leave that to completely set, because I don't want to put a brush anywhere in there, super glue. So I'll get that primed in grey, and then take it down and just put some wood colour on it and wash it. And that's certainly good enough. Good enough. It doesn't need to be any better than that, I don't think. That's going to be, you won't even notice it after a while, you'll forget that it's been done. So yeah, these are now all on to priming and painting stage, so I'll show what it's done when it's all finished, but now I'm going to pick my next Mumuk to work on. Well, this is what greeted me when I came to check my print, and yeah, I must admit, when I saw that, I decided pretty much had enough of FDM, of resin printing. It's just expensive, it's a waste of money when it continually fails like this, and yeah, really annoyed. Now that was this morning. I am still thinking and very much seriously considering bidding off the Saturn, selling it. It works fine, it's just it may be my resin, it could be something stupid I'm doing, but the printer's fine. It certainly isn't the printer's problem, it's my problem. So I'm thinking about putting this for sale. And one of the reasons is, if I put it for sale, then I can put my longer FDM, and I can try and get that working. And still haven't, after the first ever print attempt, all that FDM is now just going to be completely wasted because it's been sat outside for nearly 2 years. I still haven't even unblocked this, which is my problem, big problem. I need to get that done. But when it comes to this, I'm going to come back to that tomorrow, maybe on the next day. I'm just going to leave it for now and have a look at it, see what's failed, see what's not failed. It might only be the wolf that's failed. I'm annoyed because I was printing this for Rosie. It might only be the wolf that's failed, and if that's the case, then I might try resupport it and just print the wolf. And if that then works, then I'll be happy and I'll just get this done. The other thing is I've got so much I can print, so much I can paint. I don't need to be printing things off to get things to do. I've got millions of things I can be doing, and so it's almost just a waste of time. However, having an FDM printer working, there's things I want to print that aren't related to hobbying, and so it makes sense to use this space to get that working and get the benefit of that. So anyway, so yeah, I was a very upset beard this morning when I saw that, very upset. I just walked away, just left it, as you can see. And I'm going to walk away again now, but I'll come back probably tomorrow or the next day, clean it up, find out what's printed, what's worked and what's not, and maybe give it another go, just have a look at it. And it might be that I start advertising that I'm selling my Saturn. Anyway, onwards. I've just spent the evening assembling all of the camels, and you can see just how much flash comes off these. I mean, just covered in metal, and I have put a bit in the bin already. That's only for what, 10 I think it is. Took me quite a long time, about an hour. So yeah, we're going to have a look and see what they look like though. Well, here we are. As you can see, I've assembled, all I've done is cleaned up the camel bodies and legs and glued the legs on. I still have to clean up all the other parts, but yeah, that took me all evening. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, yeah, 10 more camels. Took me all evening, pretty much, for about an hour and a bit. Just about all the time I'd set aside for this. So I'll come tomorrow probably and clean up the rest of the parts. I'm going to paint them in the, as you can see them. So these are the sub-assemblies I'm going to paint them in, and then I'll glue them together once I finish painting them. We're going to see how that goes. So yeah, I'm hoping to have an awesome painting chat with my mate Tim and get some paint on these next week, which is why I'm pushing this on now so that they'll be ready for that. I'll get these primed up and show what it'll look like when they're all primed, and show you what I'm going to use for painting candles, because I've got a really cool idea which I've done in the past for this, which makes basically a lot easier to paint these. It's going to be much easier painting them like this, specifically without mounting them onto the base, onto a base. It means that I can gain the access to their bellies much easier. As you can see on that one, if you had a big round base at the bottom of that, you wouldn't be able to get it underneath. And it is, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I don't like painting them, is they're just so fiddly, because of when you fully assemble them, they're really hard to paint. So I'm hoping this is going to be a more enjoyable process, and I will report back. So yes, I'll show what it look like when they're all primed, and then we'll get them down to the painting bench. So here we have the next Mumuk, and just picked because it was one at the front of the pile. So this is quite damaged and needs a little bit of work. It's also quite filthy. I think it got damaged or had some lot of dust falling on it during some building work, and so yeah, it's the one that has the strings on it. Now I was having an arguing about this, and I think I've made my call that I'm going to get rid of those strings. So I'm going to undo and remove all the strings. I just don't want them. They're going to get in the way of miniatures going on, and they're a bit annoying anyway. It also is another one that has missing uprights here, the same as the previous one. However, for this one, slightly differently, I'm going to cut and use some toothpicks, I think, rather than using the thicker. I don't know, I might change my mind, but I'm wondering about using toothpicks and then putting some modelling compound or some milliput around it and sculpting a bit. So that, yeah, that's one thing that I want to say. There's a fair bit of gluing together to be done, and then there'll be some painting to be done. So yeah, so I'm going to remove all of these bits of string, do the basic gluing that I want to do here, so glue that on there, and have a look at the missing uprights. Get this stuck on in the right place, get his tail stuck on, which has broken off, and then we've got the head to do as well. And then there's actually quite a lot of painting to be done on this one. So I will get everything prepared. I'm going to prise it off this base as well. I really don't like that base, so I'm going to prise it off the base and do a whole new base for this one. I have primed a couple of bases, so I did some, I scrubbed them in hot water, and they're now fully primed in grey, so they're ready for the painting as well. So yeah, I'll get myself ready, get this repaired here, get all the stuff washed and cleaned, take it off the base, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like when it's ready for painting. So yeah, there's going to be a little bit of priming needed on these tusks as well. A little bit of a nattery chatter, but yeah, I'm really enjoying the fact that this is the project I'm working on. Well, eventually I managed to separate this from this base, but yeah, that was really tough, and it has lots of crud all over its feet, which is going to need to be tidied up, but I have managed to do that, so that can now be binned. Oh, I'm just going to straight in the bin, it's messy. So yeah, and I've started to take these strings off, so yeah, a little bit of progress there. A little bit more to do on this one than the other two. I'll bring it back when I get a little bit further on, clean all these up, do all the gluing, and then I'll bring it back to show you what it looks like before painting. I've managed to get another one of these done. This is Frank from Once Upon a Time in the West. Really liking these models. They really do look like the characters, and paint up very nicely as well, so I'm really pleased by them. So yeah, so I'm going to get the base done. I'm going to do the same thing, scrubland base ready, and use a toothpick to spread it around and what have you. I won't bother filming it, you've seen it lots of times. And then paint the rim, sorry, kick the camera then, paint the rim, and he'll be finished and completed, which is pretty exciting. Torlan Gatorman is done. There he is. Fun little paint job. Didn't take too long. Could probably have done better. I only actually used contrast in one place, and that's on the base. But if you want to see how I painted that up, then check out Monday. That will be a video on an average painter, as I do film all of my paint jobs. So yeah, pretty pleased with that. Quite interested, excited to see who's going to win this week. I think we've got like a 4-way tie. So yeah, a bit unfortunate, but at least people are still voting. And if you haven't yet voted, well, if you haven't voted yet on this video, then go and check that out. You already know who's won by the time you see this clip, but go and check out the description of this video and pick one of those models and comment in underneath, because the more people that comment, the less likelihood there are that we'll have a massive four-way tie, and it just means it's a lot more fun for everyone. So anyway, yeah, do get involved, and thank you to everyone that has voted already today. Cheers. So these are now ready for priming, and as you can see, what I've done is I'm using little clips as painting handles. So some of them are fallen over, but that's mainly because they're sat on something soft. It's not quite as stable, but you can see that we are able to get them stable. These two front ones, that's both styles of camel. So yeah, so that's going to make it a little bit easier for me to paint. So I'm going to get these primed up now, and then I'll paint them while I'm chattering to my mate Tim. We're looking forward to speaking to him hopefully next week. I'm pleased to have got these assembled and ready, and maybe they'll be less painful as the last batch. I've just spent a little bit of time with the super glue and the super glue activator, and what I've done is I've got the bits I want to have glued on apart from two bits. So the first bit that's not glued on is this. Now this just needs to be stuck in. It does have two magnets on it, which I think are for the hood, so that's pretty cool. But what I didn't realise is that whoever I bought this from actually magnetised the head. You can see, if I can get that in shot, you can see there's a magnet there, and that means that you can just boop the head on. Now I think I'm probably going to end up just gluing the head in place. There's not much point in having it magnetised. This sticks out so far anyway that even in terms of like ease of transport, it's not that much easier to transport because this needs to be glued in place. And I'm not going to be transporting these very much anyway, so I don't think there's any point in really having it magnetised, so I'll probably end up gluing that. But it's going to be useful anyway for now, for the painting of it and painting of the rest of the, you know, the touching up that I'm going to need to do on that. That's going to make it a little bit easier anyway to have it separate. So I'm not going to glue it in place straight away. But yeah, just a little bit more progress on this. There's a lot more to do on this one than the others, but we've made a good amount of progress now. So I'm going to get this stuck in place. I'm going to need to make the two extra supports here and here, but I'm going to wait for that all to dry before I touch that. And yeah, then we'll take it down to the painting bench, and then I'll pick up the next one. So the repairs are going well. The painting, not so quickly. I've completed another one of the Knuckleduster miniatures from the Nguini Western faction, and this is Frank, and it's turned out great. I mean, they are so good, really nice models to paint, and yeah, really happy with them. They look just like the characters in the films. I think I've said it a couple of times, and a few people have said that in the comments as well. So very impressed. So now I've only got two left to go. I've got the Ugly, and I've got oh, his name's gone from me, but I remember it from Once Upon a Time in the West. Can I remember it? I remember it as soon as the camera goes off. But yeah, the equivalent of the Ugly in there, really cool character. Really love that film. Can't wait to watch it again. But I'm going to reward myself when I finish this pack by watching Once Upon a Time in the West again. So there we are. Right, so onwards, let's pack the last two, and then this pack is done. Right, I'm back with a pile of cardboard, and I'm going to make another cardboard only build. After the success of my hills, when they were very successful, I've got a couple of ideas. The first one I'm going to do is going to be purely cardboard buildings. Now this is not something new, so I'm not going to attempt to tell you this is new, but I wonder if I've got a new way of doing it that kind of builds on top of what I did before, using roughly the same techniques to do non-playable interior. Because these are designed just for war games, and you very rarely go inside buildings, particularly for things like Middle Earth SBG. You're not worried about going inside buildings. You could potentially convert these to be interior, and maybe I'll do another one which does have an interior, but first of all I'm going to do one without. So what you want is you want to work out roughly how high you want your building to be and what size you want it to be. So I've got two sheets of card here. I probably only need one of them, and I'll probably keep that one, to be honest. So let's put that to one side. I can use that for the next build. This one I can use for making the walls, and this one is going to be the base, because what I'm going to do again is I'm going to clamp this down onto a sheet of wood, and then that will mean that there's going to be no warping. So I make use of these, basically they're shelves, that's what they are. And what I do is I clamp to the shelf, and that means that it's not gonna warp. So that's the first thing we're gonna do here, because then what we'll do is we can work out what size we want to do it. And to be honest with this, I can probably even put 2 buildings on this base, which might be quite a nice way of doing it. So I just use these clamps, as you can see, and that then acts as 4 feet. That keeps it stable and flat. So that's that. And if you want to, and I do, I'm actually going to put another one here, because I want to make absolutely sure this isn't going to warp. Put one there, and I'll put one there. So this is going to keep this completely flat with the wood, and it will mean that when I put water or paint or whatever, glue, then it won't warp, and it will stay flat, and then I can cut out the base. So with that done, let's grab myself my ruler. And what we can do is we can have a little think about how large our building might be, and we can draw that onto this bit of cardboard. So 160 isn't a bad size, 200 is a nice big building. So what I might do is one large building over here and one smaller building over here. So I'm going to get that drawn up, work out my sizes, and then I'll bring it back and show you the next steps once I've worked out what my dimensions are going to be. Alright, so what I've done is I've drawn out 2 floor plans, one 200 by 200, one 150 by 100. So obviously I will do another build at some point with an odd shaped, so like an L shape or something, because not all buildings are just square, but I'm going to do these 2 as square. The first one I'm going to do is going to be the smaller one, the 100 by 150, and I'm going to do that as non-enterable, so it's just going to be just a block. And I've decided that I'm going to have a go at doing the 200 by 200 with some internals, and we'll see how that goes. So the first thing I need to do is if I zoom out, I've got this sheet here. The 100 by 150 is just going to be a single story building, and that means I can make use of this sheet quite nicely. 1 story at the scale we do is about 50 millimeters for about 2 inches, 50 millimeters for 1 story. So what we'll do is we will cut, we'll do walls at 50 millimeters high. However, I'm going to get a little pad here and sketch out what I'm going to do and show you, and then I'll do it for real, not on camera, because it's going to be a bit slow and annoying and boring. So we'll just shift the camera around a bit, zoom in. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to make ourselves a bit of a flat pack house. So we'll have an end, we'll have a gable on it, and a tab on the bottom, and a tab here, and then we'll have our other one here, which will have the roof on it, which will be straight up and slightly taller than that, but I'll have to do the measuring, and I'll let you know what my measurements end up being, and that will also have tabs on the bottom. And then we'll have the other end, which will be like this, with a tab on the bottom. And then we'll have the second wall, which will be basically the same as the first, with tabs on the bottom, but no tab on the end, because that tab will join to there. So that's how we'll work it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that on drawn out and cut out. And I'm actually going to do quite a lot of the building up of layers, so putting on the door and the windows and whatever other texture decoration pieces I want to put on while it's like this, before I stick it down. So then when you stick it down, literally it's going to go plonk, it'll be in place, paint it, do the surroundings, done. So yeah, so that's 100, that's 150, that's 100, that's 150, with the tab on the end of about 1 or 2 centimeters. We'll add that on, so it's 300, 400, 500, about 520 millimeters of for that. I'm not sure about the height, I will work that out off camera, but basically that's going to be 50 millimeters, and then we'll know that's 100 millimeters that there, so we can work out the height of an equilateral triangle where all the sides are 100 millimeters what's that? And that shouldn't be too hard for me to do when I go on the computer and ask it. But yeah, so that'll tell me how high that is, and it'll tell me that, so if we're going to do this as equilateral, which I think we will because it'll make it easier, that means that these are 100 millimeters high. So that actually tells me already, there we are, that it's 150 millimeters to do what I need. I just need to work out how tall the equilateral triangle would be on each end. If this side is 100 millimeters and this side is 100 millimeters, obviously that's fine. So I might cut it a little bit more. So we've got, so we'll do maybe one plus 20, and then maybe we'll just put a little bit more just so that we've got some overhang on the roof in case I miscalculate. So if we cut that to 180, then so if we cut along to 180, then we can get this whole shape cut out of that, and that will work. So that's the plan I've got for this first building. The second one will be similar, but not the same. So I'm going to get this done, and I'll bring you back when I've got the shape drawn out and everything is correct on this bit of cardboard. And then we'll decide if we're going to clamp it. I think we'll probably end up clamping it and not cutting it out, and then cut it out once everything's glued in place again, just to prevent warping. So yeah, that's the next step. Let's see how this goes. Well, lots of measuring and lots of mind changing has been going on here. And thanks to Quin from Quin is Budget Crafts for inputting and helping me out with a pitch of the roof decision. So let's get that right zoomed in. I've got all the markings done and I'm just ready for the cutting, but let's focus in over here because this is where the interest is. So as I've said, it's 100 mil wide is the face of the building. It's supposed to be a low building, and when I did the equilateral triangle, it turns out that's just way too steep. I mean, look at that. I mean, if you're in Switzerland maybe, but yeah, I'm not drawing it for Switzerland. So then I've done two other triangles. I've got here, which is 45 degrees, and that's 30 degrees, and we've decided on the lower one. So at 30 degrees, the height of that is, I've got my, I remembered it until I started talking then. Let me just get that. So the height of it at 30 degrees is just under 30 mil, and the length of each of the sides is 58 mil. So what that means is this is too high, that's fine, it's not the end of the world, because I did forget something actually, which I'll point out. But this means that the height of this is, I've done that at 60, so that is the roof, the plane of the roof, with a little bit over, as I've said, for potential trim, which I can do once I come to assembly. And what I'm going to need to do is put on top of that a tab on one side, which I'd forgotten in my previous drawing. So if I was doing this, then I would not have actually had enough material to join these two together. So anyway, so that's what I've worked out. So what I'm going to do now is here is the tab side for this wall. So I'm going to cut along here, along here, along here, up there, along there, down there. All you can't see because I'm zoomed too far in. So yeah, I'm going to cut around the edges, mark in the 30-degree triangle there and cut around that. And then I've got the gap at the bottom for the tabs underneath the walls as well. So I'll get that cut out yeah, or at least get it marked out. I think I've said I'm undecided at the moment whether I'm going to cut it before or after I put on all of my detailing. I think I might leave it uncut until I've put like the doors and the beams and what have you on, just to make it easier. I think that might be what I'm going to do, but I haven't fully decided. But yeah, so that's really cool. So this is what you're looking to end up with, is basically the flats pack of the building, and yeah, pretty happy with it so far. So I'll bring you back for the next step when I get to it. As I say, I'm umming and ahhing and thinking a lot at the moment about how I'm going to do that, but once I've decided, you'll know. Well, it might not look much at the moment, however, I am getting paint finally on my AV10. And yeah, it's coming on nicely. So I've only done a couple of colours, 2 coats of the green, 2 coats of the grey. I have actually decided I'm filming this for an average painter, which is going to be quite a long video. But I'm making progress, and it's been really fun to paint. I have made a slight mistake with the armaments, so the loadout is wrong for the colour scheme I'm doing. But hey, only a real geek would know that, and now me, sadly. So yeah, that is a shame. I just didn't read the instructions fully and go right the way through to the colour scheme I wanted and marry it up with the loadout. I just went with rule of cool, which is my normal habit. But yeah, it is what it is. I'm very happy with how it's looking, and I think that the paints are going on nicely. I mean, I only use a brush. I don't use an airbrush, and for large areas like this, flat areas like this, it can be quite hard to get a good enough result, but I'm pretty happy with how it's looking. Anyway, there we are. Just thought I'd quickly do an update midway through to show that this is in progress. This is taking some time out of my hobby time, and I am working on it, and hopefully in the next week or two it'll be finished and I can move on to the next build of this little project for the Vietnam. So there you are. Once again, I say, I didn't do very much this week, and we end up well over half an hour long. And yeah, I obviously did do a little bit more. But that is because, as I said in the intro, what I do is I do a little bit regularly. So I don't try and do like an hour or 2 hours of hobbying at any one time, because I am very, very busy. I've got lots of things going on, as people that know me will know. But what I do is, if I've got 5 minutes, I don't sit and stare at a wall or watch TV or anything like that. I'll just get on with a little bit of hobbying. And that's how I manage to get so much done, even when I feel like I've had an insanely crazy week, which I really have had. And it is going to get busier. I'm not being funny. It is going to get more difficult for me to do quite as much over the coming weeks. Maybe it'll calm down once I'm settled into my new roles. But yeah, we shall see. Let's find out together. So to remind you, don't forget to vote for your Reaper miniature. The list is on screen, and I forgot to say in the intro, it is actually also in the description with links to the Reaper website. So if you want to see what the miniature looks like, you can click on the link and go and check it out and pick the one you like the best. So do get involved. It is a lot of fun. It is worth doing. It doesn't take any time. It doesn't cost you anything, but it could win you a Reaper miniature of your choice out of the ones that win in the previous month. So yeah, I'll wrap up by saying, as I always do at the moment, I still can't believe that I'm still saying this, but if any one of you out there are indirectly or directly affected by the horrific wars both in Ukraine and in Israel, then my thoughts do go out to you and anyone you know who might be in that situation, just beyond belief that it's still going on. And to everyone, please do stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.